Hello, everybody. It's certainly a pleasure for me to be here again. Week after week, we're going to have a show here, and it's going to be fantastic. It's called Flying High, and I call it Options to Positive Options, which certainly means that I want to make people just talk about their feelings and what's going on. I want to make it exciting for you, exciting for them. And today I have a special guest with me, and her name is Anna Mae. Anna Mae, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and who our little guy is down here?
My name is Anna Mae. I'm a volunteer at the Hayward Animal Shelter. I live right here in Hayward. And with us today, we have an even more special guest, and that is Amos. Hopefully you can see him. Amos is about 6 years old, but I think he's a little older than that because he's like an old man. He's very calm. He's very gentle on his leash. And all he wants to do is lie around, as you can see. And he's about 65 pounds, and he's my favorite dog at the Hayward Animal Shelter right now.
That sounds funny to me when you say my favorite dog. Every time you see an animal, it looks like it's your favorite animal. And that's wonderful, you know, to have your heart with him and then your brain, as you put it, you know, kind of hook up the two together to really understand your dog. And whoever understands the dog, I don't know. I am pretty soon going to have a show where dogs are talking. I got a special guy who's got dog voice, and we're going to do great with that. But right now, I really want you to concentrate on the things that Anna Mae has to tell us, because she's so experienced with animals that it's awesome, the kinds of things that she can talk to us about. Now, tell us when you first were born, you know, little teeny girl, when you first acquainted yourself with dogs and or cats, of course. Tell us about that.
So when I was a kid, we used to have little dogs, Pekingese dogs, and cats. Easier, smaller, you know, easy to manage pets. And for a short while, we even had a bunny. All these animals are available at the Hayward Animal Shelter right now. But that was my experience, and in my adult life, it was only in recent years that I became reacquainted with animals and fell in love with this breed of dog, the pit bull, my favorite.
Okay, tell us why. You explain to why the big dog like this, you know, you can...
Well, I fell in love with one dog in particular. We took in a dog, a pit bull dog, out of a sense of duty in an emergency. He was about a 60-pound guy. The moment I fell in love with him was when he jumped up on my bed, curled up, and looked back at me, challenging me. And that was the moment I fell in love with dogs.
Wow.
And ever since I fell in love with that pit bull about 5 years ago, my advocacy has been for that breed.
I know you've never forgotten it.
Never.
That's wonderful. Tell me a bit about your experiences. You've talked about dogs, cats, animals in general, you know. Do you do much with any other animals at all, or just strictly dogs and cats?
Well, me personally, my passion are the big dogs. The bigger the better, because they're, you know, it's more difficult to find homes for a big dog, for an older dog. And so I can appreciate cats. They clean themselves and they cover their stuff. But these guys have my heart.
Really?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to ask you about stories you've heard from others about dramatic experiences they have had with dogs, you know. I can tell you some of mine, but I'd rather hear from you. What is it, some of the dramatic experiences that you've heard from others or had yourself?
Well, dramatic. I would say that the human-animal connection, I wouldn't call it dramatic, but it's deep, it's profound.
Okay.
And this is why you have a lot more people adopting animals than adopting kids.
Right.
Dogs and cats will never judge you. Dogs especially won't judge you. Cats are a little bit more judgmental. But these creatures, you can tell them anything, and they'll love you no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you said just something that I disagree with. You know, they don't judge me. Mine judges me all the time. He says, "What are you doing this? What are you doing that for?" But he's a little crazy anyway. It's a little chihuahua, and I love him. And he watches television. He barks at people that do different things, or dogs, or whatever. And I just love him too. But I always feel he's judging me. You know, I'm not the big judge. He's the big John. Maybe you can tell me about, like I'm talking about my experiences. Other people have told you about different experiences because you've worked with the dog center for a long time. But what kind of experiences they talked about that kind of struck you?
Well, one of the things that I've found frequently, not just in my own experience, but a lot of us talk about how we go in to pick a dog at the animal shelter or pick a
Yeah.
cat. I think that's not true. I think the dog and the cat, they pick us.
Wow.
I strongly
Wow.
believe that. The two dogs we have at home right now are from the Hayward Animal Shelter, and the first one picked us. He manipulated us into adopting him.
Tell me, what was the secret? What did you do?
Well, he just crawled up in my stepson's lap while he was crouched down and curled up there. There's this 50-pound pit bull dog that just very gently crawled up in his lap and curled up as if he owned the lap.
How awesome.
And that dog, we name him Piglet, he chose the next dog that we adopted. But what we're doing right now is trying to find this guy a home. Amos is so calm and so gentle.
Yeah. So Amos, if you can look up at the camera a minute. Hey, Amos. Hey.
He says he's not getting paid for this. He's just going to...
Anyway, now he's looking at me.
go.
Okay, thank you for looking. I appreciate that very much. And people, as you watch this beautiful dog, I hope that you can fall in love with him, like we've done ourselves, and adopt him. You have that option. It's awesome what you can do. I have two dogs myself. I told you about them too. One is named Tiny, the other is Bambi. The Tiny is a little Chihuahua dog, and she's the one that understands me better than the other dog. He seems a lot brainier, but I don't know. Anyway, the one other thing that I wanted to ask you, let me see it here, yeah. What is the magic people experience with dogs, cats, etc.? And I use that word magic. Maybe you have a different word for it, but what is it that some people, feel with dogs suddenly?
Boy, I think...
I want you to think on this.
Well, people that I've run into who love animals sometimes love animals more than they love people.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Gosh, magic? Just that they have their own little personalities. Whoever said that animals don't have souls, they've never had a
Yeah.
dog or a cat.
Yeah.
They, gosh, wonderful creatures.
Yeah. And sometimes I want to cry when I think about that. Those words you use, they have something in them that they communicate with you. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have a show where we're going to have dogs talking. I have a special guy that does talking like a dog. And so we'll talk to dogs here. And any suggestions anybody might have, you can write to me and let me know, and I'll give you that address later on. But that's one of the things that we sure want to do. Now, what is... you've heard the dramatic experiences. I used that word earlier again too, but and maybe you want a different word than that. But some dramatic experiences that you might have had, or that people have talked to you about what they've had, men or women or whatever.
Losing a pet.
Oh boy.
Some of the time it can be dramatic, the dramatic loss of a pet, or just due to old age. But that has a lasting impact on people. Some folks are so heartbroken about losing a pet that they'll never adopt again.
Wow.
Others will honor the lives of their lost pets by saving the life of another one. And that's what we did. Before the two dogs we have now, we adopted a dog from the animal shelter, and he died 4 months after we adopted him. And we had our 2 weeks of mourning and thought, let's honor his life by saving another one.
Wonderful. And I hope that as you say those things, it hits me really good, because I hope that people who are watching the show and will want an animal, either this dog or go to the shelter and find another one that they'd like, that would adopt them. And I almost guarantee that if you do go for that purpose, they'll find you too. As you indicated to me, they found you, So those are some things that I think are really awesome. We're talking to people too that now have animals and so forth. And I don't want to call you an expert, nobody's an expert, but you probably know dogs better than many people, because you do a lot of help with the dog center and so forth. But what kind of suggestions would you have, Anime, for people that now have dogs that they can do or should do or whatever?
Well, the first thing that the Hayward Animal Shelter does is screen the adoption applicants to make sure they would be a suitable dog or cat or bunny owner. And the animal shelter wants to make sure that if they're entrusting a pet in the care of an adopter, that that adopter will be able to take care of the animal's food, shelter, and vet bills. It's not cheap to have a pet. We have to be responsible pet owners, and we have to be able to afford to care for them properly. So the Hayward Animal Shelter is very picky about who they let the animals go home to. There is a limited fund available through the Santa Con Hayward Fund, where animal adoptions are free to qualified homes.
Wonderful.
And when I say qualified homes, that means the adopters have to be qualified. They have to have landlord permission if they're renting. They have to have adequate space, enough people in the household to pay attention and care for the pets. So that's very important.
Yeah, it's not just going over there and saying, hey, I want a dog, oh, I'll take that one, and so forth. You screen them as the dogs have been, they screen the dogs.
Right.
So I think that's really important, because when they have these dogs, you know, you just feel bad if they're not treated well and so forth, and then they let them loose or whatever.
Right, and we don't know how Amos was a stray. We don't know why he was a stray. We don't know what happened to him.
Really?
We have no idea what his background is. And so he's come into the shelter. It's a very scary place for these dogs. It's loud, it's scary. And this guy, it took him a while to warm up to being in that atmosphere. And he's a very calm, but sometimes he's afraid of new situations and loud noises. Another thing that we'd like to stress to people who do adopt dogs particularly is they go and secure the services of a dog trainer. Whether it's group dog training or individual dog training, and it's not to train the dog. It's to train us, the humans, how to handle the dogs properly, how to speak their language. And you mentioned something about speaking the language of the dogs. Dogs are very simple creatures. They understand if we can be consistent and we show them that we're the boss. They need us to be the leaders. That's what a dog trainer will do, will be to train us how to handle them. Because dogs are always just going to be dogs. We need the help to learn.
That's so great to know, Anime, you know, because people don't think of it that way, you know. I bring my dog, train him, do whatever. No, they're training you so that you can work with the dog.
Right.
That's pretty awesome.
And I hear people talk about how that dog's not trained, or their own dog is not trained. That's not accurate. It's the humans in the household that are not trained. That's what it is.
It's such a responsibility to me to think of a dog owner, you know, and that is a key word you're saying. You train the trainer, so-called, you know, so that they can know how to work with the dog.
Right.
So that's awfully important. Another thing that I kind of wonder about, you know, is your experiences with the dogs have been pretty fantastic. And you're the star of the show here. And even though I have options to better options, that's the other thing I have in my show, you know, for flying high. And I just want you to kind of say the words you want to say, you know, in the show about animals and adoptions and so forth.
Okay, well, since I'm a volunteer at the Hayward Animal Shelter, I'd like to stress that a city shelter, government shelter, is much different than a rescue organization. As the municipal animal shelter, we have no choice but to bring in every animal from our own City of Hayward jurisdiction. A rescue organization, for example, they can pick and choose the animals they bring into their organizations. And so there is a big difference between what comes into the Hayward Animal Shelter and what a rescue organization will have. Rescue organizations pick and choose who they bring in.
Oh, really?
We have no choice what comes into our shelter.
How can they pick and choose from what? Pick and choose from?
Because they're independent. So a lot of rescue organizations come into the Hayward Animal Shelter and they'll pick easy to care for animals. A lot of wonderful rescue organizations out there that help to keep our Hayward Animal Shelter from being overcrowded.
Awesome.
And we rely heavily on them to bring in animals.
It's so good to know all this, Anime, and you explain it so well. It's awesome. And because people, generally most of them do like dogs, you know, but there's things that keep them from adopting them. And even cats, you know, I can't leave cats out of the picture because they're awesome too, you know. I had cats as a little bird myself, you know, and I loved them. And they're just so gentle and caring and what have you, and easier to take care of than dogs generally, you know. So I hope that as people have watched what we've talked about here, that it's a lesson for the dog owners, not the dogs, that you have to pass on to us.
That's right. And the Hayward Animal Shelter has dogs, cats, bunnies, birds. We just had a chicken and a rooster. Once there was an emu, from what I understood.
Oh, really?
An emu came in and I guess spit on one of the animal shelter staff when he was trying to be, when they were trying to catch him. So anything in the city of Hayward limits, within the city limits, is subject to being captured by the Hayward Animal Shelter.
Okay, you even have bunny rabbits too, huh?
Yeah, yes. Did I forget to say bunnies? That's right.
I had bunny rabbits as a little twerp myself, you know, and they're awesome too. The bunny rabbits, they'll follow you and what have you. And sometimes they're more gentle than any dog or cat can be, you know. They're just right there. So when we speak of animals, you bring all these in, chickens and the birds and what have you, and you have those for adoption also.
Every once in a while, we have some unusual things come in.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. Now, are there any kind of final things you'd like to say to us about adoption or whatever, Anime?
Yes, I'd like to share that there's a website. You can visit the website haywardanimals.org. It'll give you information about dogs and cats that are available for adoption. You can also look at our Facebook page, Hayward Animal Shelter Volunteers. And there's also a different website. It's called santaconhayward.com. There's a group of people who go venue hopping every year in downtown Hayward, and we raise money for the Hayward Animal Shelter. So take a look at the adoptable animals that have their adoption fees sponsored through that website as well.
Wonderful. Well, before I finish here, I want to let you folks know about what may be coming soon, you know. I'm going to have like a surgeon come and talk with us, Vijay Tiwari. He's an awesome guy. I went to India, by the way, and taught kids how to play basketball. He had a school there for kids to do that. And I taught him how to play in basketball and stuff. But he is a man who will be able to convey with us things to us. And we have Mike Sweeney, ex-mayor of the whole city of Hayward. He's going to be with us at one point. And next, in January, too, our current mayor, that is Barbara, who's going to be with us, too. I belong to Rotary Club, by the way, and we do a lot of things with different people and so forth. And I've got a lady who had polio since she was 2 years of age, and she's in a wheelchair still. And we want to talk to her about her experience. And I have a gal who's going to talk about that. And I talked to Anime, and I almost want to cry when I talk about Jimmy Jackson. Jimmy Jackson was a famous boxer. He didn't go into professional boxing, but he boxed with George Foreman. He and George Foreman were good buddies. I had George Foreman in my class at Chabot College, by the way. And George himself told me that Jimmy was the guy that hit him the hardest he's ever been hit. And Jimmy was an awesome guy. I loved him. I knew him for 60 years, and suddenly he passed away. He had a bad leg and took too many drugs and so forth. And I want to cry when I think about him, but I want to let you know Jimmy Jackson was a beautiful person, a good chamber of mine. I have the Hayward Chamber of Commerce people, Kiwanis Clubs, California Bank and Traffic, Catholic Pole will be with us. And I have in New Mexico, by the way, nephews. One's a state senator, the other one's state representatives, and we can do the show by air too. And so I'll interview them and different things that we do. Some of them may have to do with animals, because I know one of them loves working with animals too. I belong to Spectrum too, by the way, and we did have Laura interviewed last time, and she's a beautiful person who has about 45 people working for us. In Spectrum, we do things for people all over the world. Not all over the world, all over the Bay Area. I'd like to be all over the world, but a lot of places. Anyway, I have a thing called Real to Real, that's R-E-A-L to R-E-E-L. And a lot of different things on the show that are coming on, and I just want to tell you about that. And I certainly want to thank Anime very much, and her little doggy here. Not so little, by the way, but and if you do have an idea about adopting, there he is. Or she is.
Amos, he's a boy.
Amos is a boy, okay. And there's other dogs that you can certainly look at. So I hope this is let you be aware of the things that you can do in terms of adopting animals. And I want to thank you again, Anime, very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having Amos and me on the show.
Thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you. Good boy.